I just told you I don't want to tell you that.
What if the most important character in From isn't the one trying to escape the town, but the one who already knows nobody ever really does? Because Victor doesn't behave like a survivor, and he doesn't behave like a victim either. He behaves like someone who is remembering something everyone else is forced to forget. And once you start looking at him through that lens, every single detail about him starts to feel intentional in a way the show never directly explains. Victor isn't just a strange man who has lived in the town too long. He feels like a living record of everything this place has done, and that raises one impossible question. How does someone survive a system designed to erase everyone while also remembering it? At first glance, Victor seems harmless. A quiet, withdrawn man carrying an old lunchbox, drawing strange and unsettling pictures, and speaking in fragmented thoughts that don't always connect. Most people in the town see him as broken by time, someone mentally stuck in childhood after decades of isolation and trauma. But that explanation starts to fall apart the longer you watch him. Because Victor isn't stuck in the past, he's stuck in something far more disturbing. A place where the past is still happening in layers, repeating itself in ways that don't fully reveal their structure. And every time something new happens in the town, Victor reacts like it isn't new at all. Not with confusion, not with discovery, but with recognition. Like he's seen it before, and survived it before. That alone creates the first major contradiction in the entire story. Victor has been in the town longer than anyone else we know. While other people arrive and die within days, weeks, or months, Victor survives for decades as a child. And that detail alone breaks the logic of the entire world. Because this town has killed strong adults, intelligent strategists, organized groups, armed survivors, people who understood the rules better than anyone else. Yet somehow, a child survives everything. Not just survives, but grows up inside it. So the question is no longer how Victor survived. The question becomes why he was allowed to survive at all. Because nothing in this town feels accidental. Even survival feels selected, as if something is deliberately preserving him for reasons no one fully understands yet. And this becomes even more unsettling when you look at what Victor actually knows. Throughout the series, Victor demonstrates knowledge that shouldn't be possible. He knows where people shouldn't go before they discover the danger themselves. He recognizes patterns in the town's behavior that others completely miss. He understands significance in objects, places, and events long before anyone else can connect the dots. And most importantly, he rarely reacts to new events like they are new. When something horrific happens, Victor doesn't respond with shock or fear the way everyone else does. Instead, he reacts like it's familiar. Like the horror is not arriving for the first time, but returning again. And that changes everything, because it suggests Victor is not learning the town, he is remembering it. Then there are his drawings, which at first appear to be nothing more than trauma coping mechanisms. A child trying to survive psychological collapse by externalizing fear onto paper. But the deeper you examine them, the harder that explanation becomes to accept. Because the drawings are not random, they repeat. Symbols reappear across different pages. Certain locations are drawn again and again. Certain events seem to connect across sketches that were never meant to be connected. And slowly, a pattern begins to emerge. Not chaos, but structure. And structure implies intention. Which suggests Victor isn't just expressing emotion, he is documenting something systematic. A record of something that keeps happening in different forms, over and over again. And that leads into something even more disturbing. The possibility that the town itself manipulates memory. Because memory in From is already unstable. People forget critical events, details disappear, and traumatic experiences resurface in fragments that don't fully make sense. Victor exists at the center of this instability. He forgets things he shouldn't forget, but when he does remember, it is always something important. Something that changes the entire understanding of what's happening. Which raises a critical question. If Victor understands that truth is fragmented and dangerous, why doesn't he simply explain everything he knows? And the answer may not be inability. It may be fear. Not fear of monsters, but fear of what truth does to people inside a place like this. Because in this town, knowledge doesn't just inform. It destabilizes. It breaks hope. It breaks people. That is why Victor behaves so differently whenever someone pressures him for answers. He withdraws. He becomes uncomfortable, He avoids eye contact. He shuts down conversations in ways that feel deeper than confusion. Because he is not reacting like someone who doesn't know. He is reacting like someone who knows exactly what happens when certain truths are spoken out loud, as if the town doesn't just punish actions, but punishes information itself, which leads to a darker interpretation. Victor is not hiding ignorance, he is hiding consequences. Then there is the boy in white, one of the most mysterious figures in the entire series. Unlike every other entity in the town, he doesn't behave chaotically or randomly. He appears selectively, almost strategically, and his connection to Victor is unlike anything else we've seen. The boy in white doesn't confuse Victor, he guides him. He appears at key moments, almost like Victor is part of a system that predates the current timeline. This raises two possibilities. Either Victor is being protected, or Victor is being maintained. Like a component inside a larger structure that is still functioning according to rules no one fully understands yet. Not just a survivor, but a witness positioned exactly where he needs to be. And this brings us to one of the most popular theories in From, the idea that the town operates in cycles. People arrive, people die, new people replace them, and the process repeats endlessly. If that is true, then Victor becomes the single biggest anomaly in the entire system. Because he didn't just enter the cycle, he remained inside it, which would explain his fragmented memory, his emotional detachment, and his strange familiarity with events that should feel completely new. Because he is not experiencing the town for the first time. He is remembering earlier versions of it, cycles layered on top of cycles, each one leaving echoes inside him instead of full memories. And if Victor has lived through multiple cycles, then one final possibility becomes unavoidable. What if Victor doesn't just remember what happened? What if he remembers how it ends? Because if someone has witnessed enough endings, they stop speaking about escape altogether. Not because they don't want it, but because they have already seen it fail too many times. And that reframes everything about Victor completely. He is no longer just a survivor, no longer just a witness, and no longer just a broken man trying to cope. He becomes something closer to a warning that never resets. A living archive carrying knowledge the town itself may be trying to suppress. Because in a place built on repetition, memory becomes the most dangerous thing of all, and Victor may be the only one still carrying it intact. So the real question isn't whether Victor knows more than he's telling us. It's whether he is protecting everyone by staying silent, or whether he is simply waiting for the moment the town decides he is no longer necessary. And when that moment finally arrives, does Victor become the key to understanding everything, or the final proof that escape was never part of the design in the first place?
I'll tell you what happened at the settlement.